where the only sound is roaring engines and screaming chainsaws. We're not just cutting wood, we're fighting a battle with every massive tree. Blood, sweat, and sawdust. Welcome to the world of chainsaws. Welcome to the world of Wood Channel. At the top of a tall tree in the middle of a canyon, a worker wearing a safety harness and protective gear is suspended in midair. In his hands is a roaring chainsaw, cutting large sections of the tree trunk and slowly lowering them with a pulley. Each falling log is precisely controlled. Once the upper part of the trunk is taken care of, he slowly climbs down, approaching the base. With a sure stance, he makes the final cut, bringing the tree down neatly to safety.
Like it. Wait.
Cut log falls in the exact direction the worker dictates, landing safely on the ground. Each falling log causes the tree trunk to shake violently. The wind blows through the leaves, sending sawdust flying everywhere, creating a scene that is both thrilling and breathtaking.
Okay, I'll just, you can let the traffic through. I'll just move down to do one more log, okay? Okay.
The worker was wearing full protective gear, including a reflective vest, gloves, and a helmet. He stood firmly next to the large tree, holding the roaring chainsaw firmly in his hand. Each powerful, precise cut sent sawdust flying, and the tree shook slightly with each cut. A sharp chainsaw roars in the worker's grip. Its piercing sound cuts through the still air, calm yet ominous, like a warning of what's about to come. In a matter of seconds, the blade plunges into the thick trunk, slicing through the grain with ruthless force. No struggle, no mercy, just one precise motion, and the massive tree begins to tremble before crashing to the ground. Like a storm ripping through the forest, sudden and undeniable. The chainsaw isn't just a tool, it's a symbol of power, precision, and dominance in the wild. like an unyielding warrior of the ancient forest, stands tall, defiant against time. Bringing it down is no easy feat. The chainsaw operator pushes the sharp blade deep into the wood, again and again. Multiple entry cuts are made, each one opening the way for heavy push rods to be inserted into the core. On the other side, another worker hammers wedges forcefully into the trunk, striking with calculated might, delivering decisive blows to weaken the giant stance. Then, the crane joins the effort, applying one final, powerful force. Man and machine, united in effort. And at last, with a thunderous crack, the mighty tree falls, collapsing like a defeated giant in the green battlefield. In the forest, a worker was using a chainsaw to cut into a tree trunk. But suddenly, the tree trunk closed due to natural pressure, trapping the saw blade between the wood. He used a wooden wedge and a hammer to create a gap, freeing the saw blade from the tree. In the stillness of night, a faint red glow flickers from within the burning trunk. What looks like a simple tree fall can turn deadly in just seconds. As the trunk gives way, tension builds in the limbs, snapping, whipping, and exploding with force. One wrong move, one unsafe position, and it could be fatal. This is why tree felling is no joke. Watch closely, learn the dangers, because out here, one mistake can cost a life. A massive tree lies uprooted, but don't be fooled. It's still a sleeping beast, full of hidden danger. With the Johnsard 2045 chainsaw in hand, the operator steps in like a warrior. The saw screams to life, tearing into the dense wood like slicing through the armor of a monster. But every cut is a gamble. Massive limbs, twisted roots, and internal pressure could unleash sudden, violent movement. One split second of distraction, and the price could be steep.
Wupp. Drunter war keiner.
Ah ja, bisschen, ja. Ja, da ist er kaputt, ja. Du hast ja Zeit.
In a forest, a large tree trunk lies twisted and broken. A worker approaches, a chainsaw roaring loudly in his hand. He cuts through the wood, sawdust flying in arcs. The saw blade cuts through the cracked wood, making a dry sound in the deep forest.
Never ending.
Near the peaceful riverbank, a large uprooted tree lay across the river. The man started the chainsaw in his hand and began cutting through the tree. The rumbling sound of the saw mixed with the sound of flowing water, creating a powerful yet poetic scene.
Popping down here. Hear it?
Get going.
Uh-huh.
The man clings tightly to the tree trunk, secured by a safety rope fastened firmly around his waist, keeping him stable in midair. Gripping the chainsaw with confidence, he makes clean, powerful cuts. One by one, the thick branches fall, followed swiftly by the very top of the tree. It's all executed with precision, control, and the unshakable focus of a seasoned arborist. With seasoned precision, the lumberjack doesn't need a second try. The razor-sharp chainsaw slices through the wood like a knife through butter. One strike, one clean cut, swift and exact. A rotting tree lies by the roadside, weathered by time, silent and forgotten. Thin smoke curls from its surface, like the final breath of an ancient being. The chainsaw roars to life, cold and precise. With one swift horizontal cut, the trunk is split in two, a clean end to years of decay.
I'd say that was successful. Nice job, Logan.
Under a silent snowfall, a worker in protective gear carefully cuts a tree near a power line. The saw winds in the cold air, each cut precise in a dangerous landscape. The worker moves like a performer in a steel ballet, the chainsaw in his hands no longer a tool, but an extension of his very being. Every squeeze of the throttle roars like a battle drum. Each cut strikes down with force and precision, bold, unwavering. Wood chips scatter in all directions, glittering in the forest sunlight like golden dust. The blade glides along its path with surgical elegance, segmenting the log with surprising grace. A thick, solid piece breaks free, dropping to the ground with a heavy, satisfying thump. The air fills with the unmistakable scent of fresh resin, sharp, sweet, alive, wrapping the entire area in the raw perfume of triumph. On the ground, a giant ancient tree trunk was uprooted and lying on its side. The worker, wearing full protective gear and a helmet, approached and started the chainsaw. The engine roared through the air. The saw blade roared and cut deep into the rock-hard old wood. After processing the base, the worker cuts the length of the trunk, removing the remaining small branches. He works neatly, each dry, brittle branch falling into the thick layer of snow. Each swing of the saw is decisive and clean, leaving the trunk smooth, ready for the next step. The worker ran a tape measure along the length of the tree trunk, carefully marking each section of equal length. He set the saw blade in place, cutting each log to an even length, as neat as if measured by machine. The logs were stacked neatly, ready for transport. Amid roaring flames, the massive tree burns like a giant torch in the forest. The sharp chainsaw roars back, tearing into the burning trunk with relentless force. Its blade bites into the fiery core, flinging ashes and sawdust like sparks. The worker, wearing a safety harness, hangs high in the air, using a chainsaw to cut the tree trunk into neat pieces. Each piece is carefully lowered to the ground exactly as he wishes. An Oregon chainsaw, renowned for its durability and razor-sharp performance, is now in the hands of a skilled lumberjack approaching the massive tree with practiced precision. With steady hands and focused eyes, he moves in confidently. The chainsaw roars to life, its sharp blade biting deep into the wood without hesitation. Clean, calculated cuts follow in perfect rhythm. Within moments, the tree surrenders with a heavy crash. Once again, modern tools and human expertise combine to make tree felling quick, clean, and undeniably effective.
Oh.
In the damp jungle, a worker was cutting into a large tree covered in green dragon moss. The chainsaw roared, the blade cutting through the moldy bark. Moss flew in the wind, the tree shook as it prepared to fall. In the silent forest, the chainsaw screams, shattering the stillness with raw power.